Well, what is that? I mean, how can you use that? And then you say, look at the light, always the light, smell the light, look at it on my hands or on that wall, through her eyes, off his knuckles, on his ears, down that street, across that door, up the side of those buildings. Look at the reflections, the reflected light, it's everything. It's all you need to see. You have to feel the light. But how can you indulge in that? I mean, there's a million things to do, and you just want to know what the light's doing or what the water's doing. You say in the New World, everything will boil down to basics. Air.
In print, on stage, up on billboards, over the airwaves. 10 artists use the media as their medium. This winter, in Albuquerque and Santa Fe.
It is called Art Media, a collection of contemporary art on display at our museums, on billboards, in magazines, on radio and television. And frankly, it boggles the average mind. But after all, that's what it's meant to do.
This is a real interesting project. You and
Ann Zimmerman.
Ann Zimmerman put it together. It's going to be 6 weeks, starting this week.
Starting now.
And going straight on through. Why do something like this?
Well, we're interested in promoting new art here. We'd like the public to be aware of newer forms like performance art and video art and conceptually oriented things, art in which the content is really equally important as the form. And we decided to use mass media as the vehicle for that because it's accessible to so many people.
Some people would not consider this art. They would say, what are you doing here, and why is it going to be this way? But why is it art? What is it meant to do?
Well, it's meant to communicate. These artists are concerned with social issues, with political issues, with human issues. They're talking about our values in society, and we're interested in sharing that with the public. These artists are really using all kinds of different media to cross-reference information from different areas. So we may have a visual artist here who's also a country western singer and a theater artist at the same time. And so they're drawing from a lot of different areas to present their ideas.
We wanted to invite the local arts community and the general public to be a part of art that's in their daily lives.
Hi, I'm Paul Bob. For years now, I've been talking to you about the importance of seeing art. Today, over 5 million Americans don't own art or much less understand it. Won't you please join me in re-examining art?
And now artists are starting to talk more to the public, more to the culture as a whole. And I think that's one of the reasons that artists are interested in working in media.
Now see another dimension on your TV. Yes, fear the stark fist of removal no longer. Become physically attractive overnight. Attain status, luck, prosperity by blowing them off.
One of the things that these artists are specifically critical of is the way in which the media functions as a promoter of an agency of consumer society, and not just in terms of advertisements on commercial television selling or encouraging you to buy particular services, particular products, or whatever. They also sell a way of life. They also sell an ideology. These messages from the news come to you supposedly under some kind of myth of objectivity, but really nobody is speaking here. One of the things that artists involved with the media are doing is attempting to provide a subjective voice that enables a viewer to evaluate it in relationship to himself, to herself.
Hi, I'm Paul Bob, and I'm here to talk about you. Did you know you have enough energy to power a lawnmower, enough information to create a city all your own? Don't let these resources go to waste. Find out who you are. Do it today. Thanks.
I think that's the artist's responsibility, to come up with something that really is of interest, is challenging, has meaning, somehow does something for the public. And then I think on the other side of the coin, the public has a responsibility to not immediately jump to assassinate or otherwise get rid of something that maybe isn't understandable on the first go.
I think nothing is probably more threatening than asking someone to change their mind.
Hi, I'm Paul Bob. For years now I've been talking to you about the importance of considering the big picture. Not just what you're doing, more like why. Don't let your busy schedule be tampered with by the powers at large. Won't you please join me in finding out what's going on? It's worth it.
Art is appropriating from media and culling from media. It's culling images, it's culling a way of communicating, it's culling a way of producing information, and so on. And many of the arts are, I think particularly in the last few years, in the 80s, are beginning to look more and more like media. And yet they're not media, and so there's a very interesting kind of vibration going on in there between what seems to be media and what is really art.
What I first hated as something that I saw as basically a rehashing of, television is actually these kids pulling out, their childhoods again, the same way I would pull out something that on the surface seems much more significant.
Come on, baby, don't die on me now. Day of judgment may be nearing. What a morning that will be. There'll be safety then in Jesus. Rock of ages cleft for me. Oh, my loving brother, when the world's on fire, don't you want God's bosom to be your pillow? Hide me over in the rock of ages, cleft for me.
And if that medium of delivery is a mass medium, it already starts excluding art, because art is always is never in mainstream of a mass movement. It's always on the fringe.
A certain number of artists are moving away from the physicality of art to more idea-oriented art that media plays a very important part in. Media then becomes the mode, it becomes the way the art is circulated.
What the true public art of today is, and where true public space is in fact on television. It is, in fact, in the pages of magazines.
Like I say, the previous editor had said, well, let's do something about the project and not participate in the project. And I wanted to do 180 degrees. I thought it would be so much more fun to actually participate in it, because we report on things all the time, and that's pretty much run-of-the-mill.
Sure.
And it's more fun for us to do something that's different.
We basically took something from the realm of advertisement, which makes up more than half of the content of the magazines, of most magazines, a historical black and white photograph, and two contemporary ones, and intercut them all.
We took what they do and amplified it by selecting certain images and then reorganizing, reinventing, recontexting another hidden agenda, if you will, that was already in the magazine. I mean, the fact that they had a feature, their two main features were on a politician and a dinosaur were just too good to pass up.
That was the idea for this piece, was for us to use images that were appearing in the magazine and to set up to try to deal with the relationship between the images. You know, even on the news, it's an illusion where the news were presented with these series of events and we think we know what's happening, but no one ever talks about, on any level, the relationship between those different things.
I kind of try to avoid the whole art issue altogether and make my stuff just some kind of a basic public outreach about issues that are maybe interesting and then present it in a way that's understandable. And also I try to do things that are fast enough because people outside are, on their way to lunch or they're worried about this or they're doing something else. You have to, get people in the, half of a second that you might have their attention. If you do put very unusual content in a format that everybody's accustomed to see Luigi's Clam House ads, then there is a little shock just to see something different. And I think that helps focus people's attention on important issues, just to have the little surprise about where you're seeing it.
Outer space is where you discover wonder, where you fight and never hurt Earth. If you stop believing this, your mood turns ugly.
Let me ask you a question. The bulletin board, the billboard that you did for Albuquerque, I see there's mice around a lot and rats. And can you tell me what you're trying to do with that, just a little?
Well, they're the lowest people on the totem pole of the species in terms of the prejudice, the human prejudice against them. Even with the few laws that exist to protect lab animals, there is no protection for rodents whatsoever. And the things that are done to these little animals are absolutely ghastly and not necessary.
Rachel did a couple of graphic works for the project. One was her billboard design, and the other was a piece that she designed specifically for Impact magazine. And it was a piece on animal rights. And the Impact had a little bit of trouble with the piece on a couple of different levels. One was they thought that there might be some technical difficulties in the print quality. And the other one was that they said that they felt that it looked too much like animal rights and maybe not enough like art.
What happened was the billboard piece got reprinted in Impact, and the other piece was not accepted, was censored. This was one of 5 submissions to Impact magazine that was fully censored. For example, Paul Bob's piece included photographs of classical nude sculptures, which the paper felt were pornographic, and they allowed the piece to be printed only after the shots, which included genitalia, were deleted. Gwen Widmer, who works with Found Photographs, designed the issue's cover, and she had submitted other work, which was censored out of the paper due to concerns of illegal appropriation. Steve Durland did a satirical piece on AIDS, which was also totally censored. And Jenny Holzer submitted a truism poster, which consists of a series of one-liner statements reflecting a variety of belief systems, sort of a study of points of view within our culture. And this piece was printed as the magazine centerfold only after the statements, which the paper considered to be communist propaganda, were edited out.
Artists, for one, but also the people who look at that work, somehow sense or aim to encapsulate in this work their view of the world. So it's something very big. And that is also transcending the purely commercial aspect. And that is why in conflicts within the art world, and also where the art world is tied into the world at large, not only the market viability of the product is at stake, but also ideological positions. And that is why governments get involved, that's why corporations get involved, that's why art is banned, or particular types of art are banned.
Only serious art lives on like some tight corset stuck in an ice cube. And that is our God, our professor of head, our intellectual employer in the cool blue skies, with a smudge of money laid across the landscape.
I think it's great. I think it's, it's making people ask questions. And, what is this? What is it all about? And I think it's great. It's not your standard, mall art. So I'm here to support that. I might not like all of it, but I think it all needs supporting.
Every aesthetic and political fiber that I hold hates this. I mean, I really hate this kind of show in a museum, and I disagree with it politically, not so much in terms of its aims as in terms of its tactics. I think it stands more likely to offend rather than enlighten.
Art cannot truly serve as a vehicle to ideology. It will eventually violate its own premise. So, and if it's a good art, it will destroy the ideology which it is supposed to encompass.
I think that there are quite a few people who really have continued the tradition of art being very, very much involved in issues and in politics.
Political, pulled article, addled riddle, pulled little, little title, pull it a cow, pole tie a cow, pole lit a gull, polite decal.
But I think that as a performer, I really have a way of dealing with issues that reach people on many levels. And that's, I think, how you can get people to really look at certain things and see what their relationship to those things are.
We have reached the edge of the precipice. Are we going to fall in, thereby snuffing out the future? Or will we make a spectacular quantum leap across the chasm? Will it be all? Or nothing?
Is it part of the event you're here for, or is it Terry Allen personally?
Terry Allen personally.
Okay. So what have you heard about art media?
Not that much. I'm really into Terry Allen.
Cause sleazy chic haunts the bars, dancing discos, debonair. Bukus of hip medallions rub against Frederick's brassiere, and they'll soon get off together to French tickles and tic-tac-toe. Yeah. What a rendezvous to rendezvous. What a rendezvous to rendezvous.
What I see happening in performance art were people who started saying, well, let's back up and start putting our world back in a larger context again.
Hi, I'm Paul Bob. For years now, I've been speaking to you about the importance of being home. Today, over 5 million people are either leaving home or have forgotten the rewards many of us take for granted. Please join me in being home so that those without can have something to believe in. Thanks.
We're forward-looking. We're progressive. We don't want to look at our behind. We're ass-blind. We wear ass blinders. Some call it tunnel vision. No, they're behind blinders. It's Forward America, and it's happening right here in Placidita.
I don't believe art is exclusively personal and exclusively individual. And I would argue using the insights of psychologists and sociologists, namely that our personality, what we believe, what we think, what we feel, is not entirely our own. It has been built by the environment in which we find ourselves.